Welcome back to PedalBox. You join us on a miserable rainy day and we've chosen to double stack that misery by tackling all of that wiring we didn't get done last time. Now on the upside, we have managed to get one of our tail lights working. I mean, it's in the passenger compartment, not the back of the car, but it is working and that's a massive step forward. We chalked up all of our problems with the lights to not having the light control unit, or at least we thought we didn't. Turns out the 387 we had on the shelf is the correct one, and it shares a part number with the 393 that we were actually looking for. That's probably my fault, I'm just dumb. So we put this in, and everything was fine, at least in a very small area. We now have tail lights. We can also make our headlights work as well, but we can't do it on the switch. And that turns out to be because the switch itself is duff. You can put side lights on, but if you try to go for the headlights, they only sometimes come to life. We took the headlight switch off, we started jumping the pins on the back of the switch to actually just hardwire them to make them come on, and everything works. At least almost everything works. The headlights, the full beams, the side lights, they are all good at this point, and we've worked out what the wiring is to go to the back of the car for those as well. So we've definitely solved a bunch of problems. Unfortunately, it has raised a bunch of other problems around our indicators, because even with this module in, the indicators still don't work, and we kind of assumed that that would control them as well as having the hazard unit in. The hazard unit has always worked. You hit the button, all the lights come on, it's permanently lit. Brilliant, absolutely fine. Unfortunately not. The entirety of the indicator control comes through the hazard control unit. And at some point in the past, I don't know when, but I have labelled this cable repeatedly with the same thing over and over again. Not less than probably a couple of weeks ago when I managed to tear the other label off, as the blower motor power. And unfortunately that cable had been cut off the back of the hazard switch, labelled incorrectly at some point, and never been questioned. We've bundled it up, kept it labelled as I say, and we've just assumed that that would be correct. Then when we came to use the indicators, no, they do nothing. This is not the blower motor. This is the indicator power. So we have to reconnect this back up. And we did test this just to make sure, connecting them back up, that all of the indicators now work again once we've connected that. So that's another problem off the list. But that's not actually the biggest problem, because there is one particular can that we've been kicking down the road for so long now, I can't even think how many years we've been working on it, and that's the brake switch. The brake switch fundamentally works different to how we have assumed the entire time. We've been on the assumption that it sits that way round, and when the pedal hits it, it touches and it turns the brake light on. It doesn't. In the original PedalBox, it sits this way round, and the default state for the switch is brake light on. So when you push the pedal down, it opens the switch, or it doesn't open the switch, but the plunger goes forward, connects the contacts, the lights come on, everything is fine. The default state for the pedal, however, is pushing up against the switch, which turns the brake light off. And that means that everything we've done around all of these prints, all of these multiple versions, have been 100% incorrect. And we have to start again trying to work out how to mount this, probably off the steering column, because there's no space to put it down in the pedal box around the front of the pedal, or to make a mechanism that fits behind it to operate it in the manner that it needs to be done. So that is an enormous setback. Well, it's starting to get very dark here, but we've managed to test every single light on the back of the car, except for the full operation of the indicators on the stalks. We've even managed to get the parking lights working, because they don't actually go through the hazard relay for using individual indicators. They run through the side lights and just take a feed from it. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. What we have to do is fix the rest of the indicator operation. Turns out the main power feed into the middle of the connector, that just does the hazards. So you put that on and it does everything, but it's detecting that there's a lot of bulbs missing, which is why it's very angry. So all we need to do is reconnect this cable back up properly, not disconnect it for the blower motor, and we should have indicators. Admittedly, they are also flashing really quickly because we're missing bulbs, because at least one of them isn't connected in the back. I suspect at least one in the front also isn't connected because one of the bulbs was dead. But basically, everything works. As soon as we put this back together, we can do a proper test. And given it is now going dark, it's going to look really impressive, as long as it actually works.
And it worked pretty well. The rear lights come on, as do the number plate lights, and the brake lights work when we activate the switch, which is great news. Even the fog light and the reversing light work when triggered at their respective switches. But it's not all as perfect as we thought.
Now we'll leave the side lights on for a minute and we'll try the right indicator, which is flashing quickly because we've got a bulb out on the right side. Now we'll try the left one, which is also working, and again, same goes because the side repeaters still aren't connected. So I'm going to turn the side lights off, turn the ignition off, and put one of the parking lights on. So that should be the one on the left, and that should be the one on the right. And then that should be everything off, and we're back into dark. But other than that, we seem to be okay. I think that's everything we actually need to test right now. Which, yeah, I'd call that basically a win. Well, after last night's illuminating success, we decided we were going to get the front of the car working as well, and we have succeeded almost across the board. The indicators, despite connecting up the repeaters on each side, are still flashing very rapidly, which is an indicator that there would be a dead bulb somewhere on the circuit, but there isn't. They all work front to back. But I don't think that's a failure. We have indicators, they work, and I don't think it's prescribed how frequently they need to flash in the IVA. So we should all be set there. The side lights have one minor problem, and that is the bulb currently on the driver's side is dead. We have tested the circuitry with the other bulb, just swapping them across. They all work fine. Trust us, they do both work. The headlight switch is still dead, but I do need to put the headlight switch on to allow me to put the full beams, the high beams on. They both work on the switch and latch as well. And to get the headlights working, I can just jumper the back of the switch like this, between that pin, and they turn on as well. So I'd call that a success all round. Every bulb fundamentally works as long as the bulb actually has a filament that works. But now we can move on to having a look at the brake pedal assembly. We have a couple of ideas for that. We made some very big misguided assumptions about how our brake switch worked, and now we have to move the whole thing to face the other direction and find a new way to actuate it. When we looked at the clutch switch, that's almost certainly going to be the same case. At the moment we have the plunger facing to the back of the car, just like we had the brake switch, and we're probably going to have to turn it round to go to the front of the car, so we're going to have to relocate both of them into a new spot. And we think we're going to be able to put them on the side of the steering column above both pedals, with a paddle that sits on the back of each one, and as the pedal moves away, it disengages the switch, disengages the plunger, and has the correct effect as it would in the OEM box. Now, the actuating paddle on the back of the pedal should be fairly simple compared to what we've had to build before. It's a very simple movement. It just needs to sit at rest against the plunger and move away. That's all we need. But we need to make sure that it doesn't get in the way behind the crown of the pedal and the firewall. So you have the structure of the pedal coming up here, pivot down here, there's some holes that go down it like that we were using for the other paddle, for the brake switch, but we're not using that anymore. And when this pedal goes forward, we need to make sure that the gap between there and the top of the new pedal's position does not get too small. We don't want to block the pedal moving forward any more than we absolutely have to. Ideally, none at all. Now at the moment, neither pedals touch the firewall, and that is exactly what we intended, but the gap is fairly small. So whatever paddle we put on the back of here to come up to touch the switches needs to be fairly thin. It's not taking a great deal of load because it's not pushing against anything, so we should be able to get away with quite a thin structure to fit in between that gap, and that's good. Now we measured up with my shoes, which are a size 11, and they actually do come a little bit past the top of the foot pedal like that, so they sit a little bit further up. So we're going to have to extend slightly beyond that, but we can't go too far up because then we hit the steering column. At the moment the steering column sits like this, and then one pedal is slightly off to one side and one is over there. Now the game plan is to have something that comes up, goes across this way, and another one that comes up this way. If this pedal's a little bit further over, we might be able to get away with using a mirrored arrangement of the same lever on each side, which would be really, really convenient, because then we can also put the two switches together like this, and they go into one housing that we can attach onto the steering column outside casing, which, as I say, that would be the absolute best case. This is going to take a lot of iteration to go through, and I don't want to bore you for probably the 4th or 5th time of going through the iterations of building some sort of system to actuate a switch. So we're going to ignore this for the time being, and in the background of the next probably 1 or 2 episodes, I'm going to iteratively make something that fits, and we'll pick this up again once it's all done, once it fits properly, and just show you the final result, because I'm sure that'll be much more satisfying than just watching me print a piece, test it, and then throw it away again. Print a piece, test it, and throw it away again. Now, before I go and bury myself into FreeCAD designing that pedal adapter for the next couple of weeks, I have a quick question to ask everybody. If you can throw the answer in the comments, that would be much appreciated. We found that our brake pedal switch is powered by permanent live, not switched live. That means when we turn the ignition off, we pull the key out, anything, we still have brake lights on. Now, part of that is because the brake pedal isn't installed, it's not disengaging the switch. That's perfectly normal. But the fact that we can turn the brake lights on by pressing the pedal without having a key in the ignition is weird. We've checked my daily, we've checked Chris's daily, they both don't operate like that. You have to have the ignition in at least P1, possibly P2 in order to get that to work. And it's just very weird. That's how it's wired in the car. So we looked at the wiring diagrams that we have. We've got 2 versions, 2001 and 2002, which I think was when the facelift was, which is why we have 2 of them. And it's still wired in that diagram to permanent live, not switched live. And that seems very weird. I'm pretty sure we can probably swap them over as long as we pick the right switched live source. But has anybody else got a vehicle where without the key in the ignition, you can press the brake pedal and have the brake lights come on no matter what? Because I can't think of anything that I've ever seen that operates that way. With that said, thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of us actually making progress on the wiring loom. If you'd like to support us with our long-standing patrons, you can do so at patreon.com/PedalBox show. Thanks to every one of our patrons who've been supporting us for so long in this endeavour to bring this to fruition. We cannot thank you enough, and we really do value every single thing that you've done, even if it's just some of our viewers with help in the comments and giving us some advice. All of that is fantastic. Even if you've just liked and watched a video, that all helps to try and push the YouTube algorithm that little bit further. If you'd like to buy some of our merch, which I am wearing under this slightly tatty jumper, you can go to shop.pedalbox.show and buy things from there. We have mugs, hats, t-shirts, jumpers, all sorts of stuff like that. And if you are a patron, you'll also get a discount depending on your tier of membership. Thanks once again for watching. Do like the video, comment down below what you think about our brake light switch problem may be, and we'll see you in the next episode. Make sure you subscribe so you know when that comes out.